What it was used for is the mystery. That it was real and did exist is not a question. An over 2,000-year-old battery makes you wonder if it keeps going and going and going and going and going.
Oh, God, you didn't really go there.
Yes, he did.
Finding odd combinations of things is the norm in archaeology. It wouldn't be too uncommon to find an old hammer with its handle still intact. But what if you found a hammer encased in rock over 100 million years old? In the 1930s, in the city of London near Red Creek, Texas, an iron hammer was
City of
discovered
London,
embedded
London,
in a
London,
rock.
London, London.
How did it get there? The hammer had to have been built before the rock was formed, hundreds of millions of years ago. According to analysis, the rock enveloping the tool was dated to the Ordovician era, more than 400 million years old, while the hammer itself is thought to be much older, dating back 500 million years. The wooden handle of the hammer is so old that it has begun to turn into coal. That's one very old tool. It was determined that the hammer's head is made of 97% pure iron, 2% chlorine, and 1% sulfur. In the 80 or so years since the hammer was unearthed, the metal object has not shown any signs of rust.
It always makes
making
everybody
it a unique
wonder,
blend of
too, is
metallurgy that
why
some
in
claim
Star
to be a
Trek,
lost technology from an ancient civilization.
when the ships get
Both
hit by
researchers
photon
and
torpedoes or
historians are
get damaged,
divided into two camps in respect to the finding.
their set turns
with one
into
arguing
rocks.
that the artifact is proof
Or
prehistoric cultures existed
they turn
long
into,
before
like,
what history books tell us, and the
bricks or
other
shit
is
like that.
denying that possibility.
It's like when a
Could
photon
this
torpedo hits or
strange
something, they
object
get
be
damaged or
evidence
something
of
like
a
that. Why does,
civilization
like,
predating what is known
not
in
metal
our
go
modern
flying all over the
understanding of
place, but
history?
it all turns to
Who made
rocks?
the hammer, and who used it 500 million years ago? That is some serious hammer time.
Maybe it's a bomb with rocks in it. Just throwing rocks at people. Go back to Kentucky. That is a weird place. It shouldn't exist. It does show that man is older than.
It seems every day science
was
is
here longer
pushing
than
back
we
the
thought.
day man became an intellectual being. Göbekli Tepe sits in a plateau in Turkey and is around 20,000 years
Well,
old.
we never know. Could man
20,000
actually have
years
been
ago,
here when the
man is
dinosaurs were
supposed
actually
to be
here?
eking out a living with sticks and clubs. Yet here is a complex arrangement of statues, some many tons in
And did
weight,
we actually
with carvings
see
of animals and other symbols.
the asteroid or comet that
Göbekli Tepe
freaking...
includes
Quite
two
possible.
phases of use believed to be a social or ritual nature, dating back to the 10th millennium BC. During the first phase, belonging to the pre-pottery Neolithic circles, massive T-shaped stone pillars were erected, the world's oldest known megaliths. More than 200 pillars in about 20 circles are currently known through geophysical surveys. Each pillar has a height of up to 20 feet and weighs up to 10 tons.
And
They're fitted into
carvings
sockets
of
that
animals
were
that aren't
hewn out of
even
the bedrock.
um,
In the second phase,
natural
belonging
for that
to the
area.
pre-pottery Neolithic, the erected pillars are smaller
He
and
said
stood
erected
in
again.
rectangular rooms with floors of polished lime.
Daddy,
Pretty
Daddy,
sophisticated
what's
for
erected?
cavemen, right?
Nothing, son. You should know
The
about that until
details
you're
of the
older.
structure's function
But
remain a
he
mystery.
said... No,
It was
shut up.
excavated by a German archaeologist under the direction of Klaus Schmidt from 1996 until his death in 2014. Schmidt believed that the site was a sanctuary where people from a wide region periodically congregated, not a settlement. The structures not only predate pottery, metallurgy, and the invention of writing or the wheel, but they were built before the so-called Neolithic Revolution, that marks the beginning of agriculture and animal husbandry around 9000 BC. The construction of Göbekli Tepe implies organization of an advanced order not associated with Paleolithic societies. However, archaeologists estimate that up to 500 persons were required to exact the heavy pillars from local quarries and move them 330 to 1,640 feet to the site. The pillars weighed 10 to 20 metric tons, with one still in the quarry weighing 50 tons. The site continues to perplex scientists and raise more questions than it answers. It's the oldest monolithic site on the planet as of today, predating everything else. It absolutely could not have been built and crafted by Neolithic man. Giant walls are built to keep people out or keep people in. They are barriers, usually built for political reasons to hold off an invading army or a group of
Get Mongolians knocked down my shitty wall.
They may be used to house
They
people
knocked
or
down my
protect
shitty
animals.
wall again.
In any case, a wall
Damn
is
Mongolians.
something of a huge discovery in archaeology. If you ever find yourself
because
driving
they
by
actually-
Mongolian Barberton Airport.
you may ask yourself, why
They actually
this
did
suburb
get
of
over
Dallas
that
is
wall
called
once,
Rockwall.
once or
Well, there is
twice
an ancient
and
wall
invaded
there.
China,
can't see
but they
it
always
because
got
it's
kicked
buried.
back out.
But it's there. For over 160 years, scientists have claimed the wall is nothing more than a natural formation. Most people living in Rockwall, Texas, do not even know that their city is named after an ancient rock wall city, complete with a skull of a giant that was found while some people were digging a well looking for water a long time ago. The wall is an almost perfect rectangle, 4 miles wide and 7 miles, encompassing more than 20 square miles long, with most of the wall being buried. The top of the wall at all
Does that mean
outcroppings
he's got a
found
long
to date
song?
have a uniform elevation of 550 feet above mean sea level. Mary Patty Wade Gibson is the granddaughter of T.U. Wade, founder of the wall at the Rockwall County Historical Foundation. She described the additional digging her grandfather and other men did at the home site. In her description were cubicles or rooms constructed of stone, which you could walk through and would reach a corridor which seemed to run in a direction into the hill that the town square sits upon.
Into my nuts?
She told of an incident in 1906 of 2 unidentified men digging out the corridor, which had apparently been filled with erosion. Their intent was to reach a room or cavity under the town, which might be full of gold, apparently derived from a story from Indian legend. The ceiling of the corridor had steep slopes, describing a Gothic-type arched ceiling, much like the Mayans built, and the further into the corridor the 2 men excavated, the steeper the slope of the ceiling became. Consequently, the men, fearful of a structural failure, abandoned their search for gold. Mary Patty Gibson also says that during her grandfather's exploration of the wall, he discovered on the outside the wall went straight down. On the inside, she described the wall going down to about 40 feet, curves inward, and becomes much thicker. Additional information provided by the daughter of the late Mr. Deweese, an early settler of Rockwall, who described a doorway with a diagonal-shaped stone in the wall at the Wade residence on Highway 66. This portion of the wall was open to visitors from 1936 until the late 1940s, and was consequently backfilled because of dangerous structural conditions. In 1949, a Mr. Sanders of Fort Worth, Texas, did an excavation of the wall. From this excavation, 4 large stones were brought up, with the largest weighing approximately 2 tons. On these stones were found inscriptions with what appear to be pictographs. The Dallas Morning News on the 5th of November 1967 reported that back in the 1920s, T.H. Meredith said a well was dug on his farm just east of the town of Rockwall, and Mr. Meredith declared that the digging went alongside a masonry wall which seemed to have an arch over a doorway or window. Metal rings were found at the site, which was composed of tin, titanium, and iron, embedded in the rock.
Oh.
You can see it in this photo just above the pickaxe. Of course, all this material and the skull have been lost, and much of the wall today cannot be seen. It's also unlikely any modern excavations will happen because the town has grown and is now an urban section next to Dallas. But if you drive through Rockwall, Texas, you can think about what mysteries may lie just a few feet below your car.
Can you hop when I drive down 275?
At Drive Time, we approve 99% of people who apply, and we show you your real down payment.
And your real monthly payment.
Right. I almost forgot.
So I can get approved on my phone and see my real down payment. And your real monthly payment.
Yep, we get it, Tim.
Do you get it, Deb?
Yes. In basically 30 seconds, you can get approved and see your real
Tiny
down
little
payment.
And your
moves
real
and
monthly
big butt.
payment.
And your monthly payment.
And your monthly payment. All on your phone. Wow.
That's a lot.
I like it.
Get your down payment, monthly payment, and find the car you need all on your phone. Get the real deal
Well,
at
you never know if
drivetime.com.
her hair is literally covering her tits, so.
True.
Giant skulls. Really? What's up with that? The truth is, giant skulls are very real and have been found worldwide. First, let me warn you that there are a bunch of fake giant skull photos floating around the internet. So if you see one, do your own research and determine if it is real or fake. You see, there was a contest not long ago to make giant skull images in Photoshop, and all of those contest entries are out there now being mixed up with the real ones. So let's take a look at the reality versus the misinformation.
Fake giant skulls.
Your first question may be, why is it so hard to find real giant skull photos? Well, the reason is simple. Under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, a federal law was passed in 1990, requiring Native American artifacts and remains to be handed over to culturally affiliated tribes or provable descendants and then reburied. The few skulls that remain in anthropological facilities cannot be photographed under this law. So all photos of the existence of giant skulls were taken before 1990. The other issue is that because giants didn't fit the religious criteria of early explorers and researchers, they were often dismissed or even destroyed. Many were sent to the Smithsonian and subsequently destroyed by the curator who, back in the early 1930s, thought it was against his beliefs and didn't fit his personal anthropology theories. So, let's take a look at some real giant skulls.
That was the one in the Serpent Mound. You know the Serpent Mound?
These are not isolated accounts. There are literally hundreds of reports around the turn of the century describing large bones and skulls, many from accredited newspapers and doctors. So why the mystery? Well, even today, many scientists refuse to look at the evidence because they would have to rewrite the history books and include a giant civilization in North America, which apparently was here long before the Native Americans and existed up to colonization. Skulls and bones found around the world corroborate this. With the lack of physical evidence and the mysteries surrounding many of these finds, science just can't be bothered to take a serious look at the obvious. Our only hope is that sometime in the near future, someone somewhere digs up a new find and is wise enough to photograph and document it before it can be taken away. In a mysterious pyramid in China's Qinghai province near Mount Baiyang are 3 caves filled with pipes leading to a nearby saltwater lake. There are also pipes under the lake bed and on the shore. The iron pipes range in size from some smaller than a toothpick. The strangest part is that they may be 150,000 years old. Dating done by the Beijing Institute of Geology determined these iron pipes were smelted about 150,000 years ago.
Wow.
If they were indeed made by humans, according to Brian Dunning of Skeptoid.com. And if they were made by humans, history, as it is commonly viewed, would have to be reevaluated. The dating was done using thermoluminescence, a technique that determines how long ago crystalline mineral was exposed to sunlight or heated. Humans are only thought to have inhabited the region for the past 30,000 years. Even with the known history of the area, the only humans to inhabit the region were nomads, whose lifestyle would not leave any such structures behind. Though some have since tried to explain the pipes as a natural phenomenon, Yang Yi, a research fellow at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, told that the pyramid may have been built by intelligent beings. He did not dismiss the theory that ancient extraterrestrials may be responsible, saying this theory is understandable and worth looking into. But scientific means must be employed to prove whether or not it is true. Another theory is that it was built by prehistoric humans with techniques lost to humans of a latter period. The pipes lead into a salty lake, though a twin lake nearby contains fresh water. The surrounding landscape is strewn with what he describes as strangely shaped stones. Rocks protrude from the ground like broken pillars. Who could have built a pipe system 150,000 years ago? These are iron pipes, not clay or rock. They would have had to have been constructed. No one was smelting iron that long ago, according to our current understanding of history. Is it possible that an ancient race of people lived long before our so-called historical timeline? If so, what other artifacts exist that prove their existence? Spheres found in the mines of South Africa have piqued the curiosity of researchers for decades. Why? Because they're 2.8 billion years old and appear to be man-made. According to Michael Cremo and other researchers of prehistoric culture,
That
These
one looks like
spheres
the
add
cosmic
to a
egg.
body of evidence suggesting intelligent life existed on Earth long before a conventional view of history places it there. Kremo has traveled the world gathering information on out-of-place artifacts. He compiled his findings in the popular book Forbidden Archaeology: The Hidden History of the Human Race. In 1984, while investigating the spheres, he contacted Rolf Marx, curator of the Museum of Klerksdorp, South Africa, where some of the spheres are kept. Marx described the spheres as being about 2.8 billion years old, with a very hard surface and a fibrous structure inside. He found them quite strange and puzzling. Marx wrote, according to Kremo, there is nothing scientific published about the globes, for the facts are they are found in Prophylaete, which is mined near the little town of Otsdel in the western Transvaal. Some of the so-called Klerksdorp spheres are elliptical in shape with rough edges around the center. But some are so balanced in shape and
You will
proportion,
lick it
and the
and you will
grooves
lick it
around them
good.
look so straight and hand-carved, it seems unlikely they were naturally formed. Proponents of this theory say that the spheres were made by intelligent beings. Kremo and others who hold that these spheres are evidence of advanced prehistoric civilizations say mainstream science needs to be bolder and more willing to acknowledge evidence that could contradict dominant views. What was the purpose of the spheres? And who was manufacturing them
marbles, man.
2.8 billion years ago?
Just like in the end of freaking Men in Black, the aliens were playing marbles with the. So, hey, Galaxy. Hey, Galaxy.
I must admit, I did not think of that when I said that. Hey, how you
It's part of
doing?
our modern culture.
Want
Men
to put
wear
our dicks in your mouth?
backpacks and carry a wallet. We have bags for pretty much
I'll take the one you
everything
take
today.
on to rate your.
One of the
Oh,
more
you can take that
mysterious
one.
symbols that has been found in ancient carvings is an
I'll
image
take
that looks
anyone in the room
uncanny
that's
like
gonna suck my
a
dick and
handbag.
take it up the ass.
The shape appears
I
in
gotta make it
depictions made by
worthwhile.
the
Because if my
Sumerians
old lady
and
finds
Iraq
out, I'm in
in the
trouble.
ruins of ancient Buddhist temples, in
Daddy J
decorations
So
of
she's gotta
trouble.
suck
Moloch
dick
of
and
New
take
Zealand,
it up the
and
ass.
in crafts made by the Olmecs of Central America. Handbags can be seen in the art of various cultures from around the world and throughout time, with the first known instance of a handbag appearing at the end of the Ice Age. What is this mysterious symbol that can be found throughout the ancient world? The handbag image is so common because it looks very similar to the modern-day purse. The objects typically feature a rounded, handle-like top and a rectangular bottom, and may include varying degrees of additional details of texture and pattern.
I prefer
The
the
images
heart-shaped
sometimes
bottom.
appear as standalone objects. Sometimes they are
Or hearts.
depicted in the
One
hand
of
of a
them.
person, a
Fuck the
god,
rectangles,
or
man.
mythical being, in
They
a
almost
manner
suggest a
similar to
waffle.
how one would hold a basket.
I'll take a pancake booty as long as she's got big tits.
One of the earliest instances of the
Like my
handbag
wife.
motif can be seen in the ruins of Göbekli Tepe, located at the top of a mountain range in southeast Turkey. Dating back to approximately 11,000 BC, Göbekli Tepe is one of the oldest temple complexes ever discovered. The exact purpose of the mountain sanctuary is unknown. However,
For like
it
25
appears that
years,
the
my
temple
wife
may
thought
have
that I was
served
a
as a
chick
site
man.
for religious sacrifices. The
Then
walls and
when I
pillars of
finally
the
told her
temple
I'm
are
an ass man,
decorated
she says,
with
why'd you
finely
marry
carved
me? I said, you
images
got
of
big
gods and
boobs,
mythical
and
creatures,
you loved my kids.
perhaps in an effort to portray the many different creations of the
I
cosmos.
figured
Amidst
I
these
could
other
go with her.
carvings are 3 handbags. Experts believe that early religions worshipped the fundamental elements of life on Earth. Therefore, the 3 Göbekli Tepe handbags, taken as an early form of those icons, could be said to symbolically define the site
Well,
as
lucky
a
I got
temple.
the opposite.
Elsewhere, the handbag image shows up with striking similarities in two stone reliefs.
You
One
got a
made
nice
by
house,
the
it's fine, but you
Assyrians of
gotta have a
ancient
nice
Iraq,
rack.
sometime between 880 to 859 BC,
Yeah.
and the other made by the Olmecs of ancient Mesoamerica, sometime between 1200 and 400 BC. In both of these images, a man-like figure carries the handbag in his hand, as if it were a basket or purse. When
It
used
could
in
be a
Syria, it
rebreather
is said
unit
that
like
they're
the
supposed
fucking
to be
astronauts
dust.
use
The
when they have
depicted
their
of
spacesuits on and they're
they
walking from
postulate that it
the
contains herbs
dressing
for
room
getting
to the
high.
rocket.
This suggests that the handbag may have been a standard of measurement, uniquely discovered by both cultures.
Yeah, standard of measurement.
In any case, these handbags appear on statues and reliefs all around the world and are very similar. What were they? What did they contain? And why was it important to depict this symbol in statues and art thousands of years ago?
Maybe it's not a
Same
handbag.
reason when I was a kid, most of my artwork,
Maybe
or
it's a
when I was
water
younger,
barrel.
most of my artwork contained skulls and roses,
Now what you're
symbols
saying.
of life and death. And when you're young and immortal, you flirt with both. That's what you're really doing when you're a teenager, is testing the boundaries of your mortality. Fuck, how many times were you this fucking comedian said this, how many times were you laying in some field almost dying of alcohol poisoning when your mom and dad thought you were staying the night over at your buddy's house? You know?
Oh, them nights, man, them nights.
Huh?
I said, them nights, man, them nights, fuck.
Fuck, man. We used to go out into this big field, and we put the keg in the dirt, cover it over, and just have the fucking tap sticking out the ground. It took a while. It took like 3 different raids before the cops finally figured that motherfucker out and found the kegs.
The Stone of the South is the largest worked monolith on Earth, weighed in at a staggering.
Wow.
Hey, where's it at, bitches? Where's your shit? It's like, we don't know. What you're talking about? Where's the fucking alcohol? Oh, well, it's over there.
Well, man, some dude was giving us each a cup for $1, man, and then you know, I ran out of money, so I'm over here smoking Marlboros and flicking his ashes in an empty cup. Back when I was in high school and in junior high, there was no thing like a minor in possession of cigarettes charge. If you were 15 or older and your parents gave you permission to smoke, there was nothing they could do about it. As a matter of fact, when I was in high school, the school had to provide us with a smoking area so that students could smoke in between classes.
Because they've not yet reached the bottom of the rock to
Yep.
completely clear it, they have no
And
idea of the volume or
as long as you had your parents' permission, you could smoke. And they didn't really check up on you with your, say, okay, now we're going to call your parents to see if you're allowed to smoke or not. You know what I'm saying? And fuck, there was a lot of us that were there smoking weed. It was outside, big giant area with a big courtyard.
Like, hey, bitch, you supposed to be doing that? And yeah. Like your mom said you could. Yeah. It's like, what about your dad? If my mom said I could, what do you think my dad said I could?
The western wall
okay.
of Jupiter contains some of these immense blocks that make up
Just can't have one, motherfucker.
At least 20 feet above ground level. So how could they have got them from the quarry to the main site, then placed them so accurately? The stones of Baalbek are one of the enduring mysteries of the ages, and it does seem like some special occult power was employed to quarry, lift, and transport these immense blocks. Why they decided to use stones of this size has baffled researchers for generations. It would have been much easier to use smaller blocks and put them together at the site. Perhaps if they were giants, then these stones were not as large to them as they are to us. We may never know how Baalbek was constructed.
It's hilarious
One
they
thing we
use
do
a
know
picture like
is
that.
that we cannot duplicate this endeavor.
Sumeria and Egypt rise suddenly. Out of nowhere. Like they had help. Don't let them fool you. Ancient Egyptians were not Arabic. They were white
That the
and black.
Sumerians and
They were not
Egyptians
Arabic.
rose to become empires so quickly. Ancient Egyptian civilization emerged in the fertile Nile Valley, bounded on each side by harsh deserts.
Yep.
In Mesopotamia, now southern Iraq, the land between the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers, the first cities appeared
That's
on
cool.
irrigated lands.
Look at that.
Both